Good evening, everybody. This is your favorite aspiring classicist here, a wandering author, reminding you that we're all the authors of our own lives. As always, my message remains the same: spend less, live more, earn your freedom with frugality. And we did it. We completed Book 5 of Aristotle, the Nicomachean Ethics. Now we're on Book 6, where he goes over the intellectual virtues. So remember, like books 2 through 5, all are about the moral virtues. Things like courage, magnificence, liberality. There's more. Justice, obviously, off the top of my head. But those are all types of character virtues. But there's a different class, according to Aristotle, and that's what he devotes Book 6 to. So let's see. What does he have to say? We have already said that it is right to choose the mean and to avoid excess and deficiency, and that the mean is prescribed by the right principle. Let us now analyze the latter notion. What he's saying is, we've already talked about how to exercise your virtues, at least in Aristotle's world, is to choose the mean, literally the middle between excess and deficiency. So you can be too courageous and you're almost foolhardy, where you rush into battle without thinking about what's going to happen to you, or you take unnecessary risks, or you can be a coward and not have any courage at all. The right one is right there in the middle, and so it is with all of the virtues. But how do we know what the mean is? Like Aristotle just said, it's from the right principles. But how do we know what the right principles are? And that's where we're analyzing. So with each of the moral virtues, there is a certain mark to aim at, and men who know the right principles should fix their gaze on that mark, adjusting their behavior like tuning a guitar. This bare statement, however, although true, is not at all enlightening. So just telling somebody to observe the mean isn't going to make them a better person. You've actually got to have a bit of practical wisdom to go with it. And he says, in all departments of human endeavor that have been reduced to a science, it is true to say that effort ought to be exerted and relaxed neither too much nor too little. Yet a person knowing this truth will be no wiser than before. You can't become a doctor just by being told about all the medicines one might use. You've got to actually have a medical education. You might know that surgery can fix somebody, but that doesn't mean you know how to use surgery. Hence, with respect to the qualities of the soul also, it is not enough merely to have established the truth of the above formula. We also have to define exactly what the right principle is and what is the standard that determines it. So how do we know the right principle, and how do we know the way to determine it? Now, we have divided the virtues of the soul into two groups: the virtues of character and the virtues of intellect. The first 5 books, most of the first 5 books of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics is devoted to the virtues of character. The former, the moral virtues, we have already discussed. Our account of the latter must be prefaced by some remarks about psychology. It has been said before that the soul has 2 parts. So Aristotle divides the soul into 2 principal parts, but 3 parts in total. One of the parts is rational, and the other is irrational. Let us now similarly divide the rational part, and let it be assumed that there are 2 rational faculties. So, what are the 2 rational faculties? Well, one of them is whereby we contemplate those things which admit variation, and the other is where we contemplate things which do not admit variation. So, another way to say that is these 2 rational faculties may be designated the scientific faculty. That's what you use to think about things that don't change ever. And then the calculative faculty, literally like your ability to calculate and deliberate things that do change or vary, respectively. Since calculation is the same as deliberation, and deliberation is never exercised about things that are invariable. You don't have to deliberate about things that don't change. You only have to do that about things that do change. And then we have therefore to ascertain what disposition of each of these faculties is the best, for that will be the special virtue of each. So each of these things has a particular domain. And that's what book 6 is going to be all about. But the virtue of a faculty is related to the special function which that faculty performs. So we're going to analyze in this over the next couple of days Aristotle's psychology, basically, the intellectual virtues. And just to give you a little bit of a preview, he talks about technical skill, art, like basically, you know, what a craftsman might use. He talks about phronesis, that's the Greek word, but practical judgment. He talks about wisdom. He talks about scientific knowledge, basically book smarts. He also talks about intellect, which is like your ability to discern what is true. Like how your IQ almost is what he's talking about. But it's definitely a very interesting book of his work, and I think that we can gain some stuff from it, just like we have by reading the other parts of the books. So, yeah. Who's ready to talk about intellectual virtue? I am. And that's all I've got for you guys today. This is a wandering author here, ready to remind you that we're all the authors of our own lives. As always, my message remains the same. Spend less, live more, earn your freedom with frugality. What are you guys doing in order to inspire, uplift, and empower your local community today? Because this world isn't changing unless we all do our part. You can count on me to do mine daily. Till next time, love y'all.